Let's talk to Charlie Faulkner. He's the CEO of EdgeMode Inc., who trade on the OTC markets in the US of A. Charlie, welcome. Few general questions just for anybody who's not actually heard of the company. What problem is EdgeMode currently solving?
Well, we think we're solving quite a big problem. So we are developing AI infrastructure, and we're doing that in Spain. The reason we're doing that is there's such a huge demand for compute, largely driven by AI, that there isn't enough infrastructure to support that. So, it's a supply and demand problem. We're solving that problem.
And how do you do that?
Okay, so we have a portfolio of sites that we're developing in Spain. That really means that we are securing power, land, all the permits and permissions one requires for a data center build, fiber. So really everything that a data center operator or a hyperscaler or a neo cloud high compute user requires to then build and operate a data center. Okay,
your key advantages?
Well, I think scale is really important. So our portfolio is really increased actually significantly. We're now 3 gigawatts, which makes us the largest developer in Europe. So there's a big race for capacity. That's really the market today. There's how much can I get and how quickly can I get it? Okay, so we have a lot. 3 gigawatts is a huge amount. We expect to develop 1.5 gigawatts of that this year. So how quickly can I have it? Well, you can have it this year. And how much can I get? You can have a lot. So that's our advantages.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about progress. You went to Canberra before Christmas. Here we are, end of Q1.
Yeah.
Have you got much to report?
We have, actually. I've never been in a business which has been as progressive and as busy as this one, I can assure you. So, okay, so let's take a step back. So we did a joint venture with BlackBerry, who are our development team in Spain. That started with an MOU, a binding MOU, which I think was signed end of November, early December. My dates might be off there. As you know, December in Europe, it's not the most productive. No. Right? It's quite fun, but it's not the most productive. So that took us into January when we got the definitive agreement signed. So really, we have a deal with these guys from January. That's essentially how it started. So, there's not a lot of time. We're in March now, early March. We've done a lot in that period of time. So we've actually grown the capacity of the portfolio. So it's now 3 gigawatts, which is quite a big extension from what it was before. So it's a huge development milestone. We've moved forward with the development cycle across all these sites. So we've made progress. We're actually further down the track of completing in a relatively short amount of time. We've done a lot. And then importantly, we're starting to get interest. We're starting to get buyers. We're having some really meaningful conversations, second, third, fourth conversations, which are developing into commitments. So I think in a 2-month window, 2.5-month window, it's been really, really good, really successful. I think you need to realize and sometimes take stock and be like, okay, this feels like we're on it every day, which we are. And we always want to do more. We always want to do things quicker. Yep. But then when you take a step back, you say, actually, that's good work. That's happened really quickly, and we're in a great situation. Because let's remember, this is an important point. We're not developing and writing a bit of code here to ship to a few businesses and try and create a business model which somebody pays you hundreds or thousands of dollars per month for use of that code, like a SaaS business model. We're not. We're developing billions of dollars of asset value, and we're then monetizing it and selling it. Big ticket value, big projects, big funding, big opportunity, but there needs to be a sensible amount of time attributed to how long that's going to take and what success is. Right. So with all that in mind, we've done a lot, and I think we've been quite successful.
Okay. So you talk about success, okay? What in your eyes is success, let's say, out to H1 and indeed to the end of the year?
Okay, I think if somebody had said to me when we did this definitive agreement in January, by the end of June, you would have grown your portfolio, developed it way beyond expectation, and increased it, and started to take sales commitments or have meaningful conversations, I think I've been quite happy with that. I think the reality is we're there already, so let's readjust that. So end of this half of the year, coming into June, love to see some non-binding offers,
Right.
maybe even a sales agreement, possibly more. I think we're nearly there. I think we're really getting to that point, and that would be a very, very good outcome and realistic as well. So I'm that's the next target.
So you're not a dreamer, you know.
No, I think look, we've got to stretch ourselves. We've got to be look. We've done well. We're doing well. I'm very happy, but let's accelerate and let's get some of these sites more developed, and that's going to happen. And then let's start taking commitments. And by commitments, I mean, you know, LOIs, MBOs, some formalised commitment from an off-taker. Because we speak to lots of off-takers, and they speak to us. They actually approach us more often than us approaching them. And like any business, there's a lot of conversations that all of a sudden become nothing. Right? That's the nature of sales and doing business. What we're now doing is saying, okay, you know, you like what we're doing. We think it's what you require. Now let's formalise this into some working agreement. And often, some don't do that, and maybe some do that, and it doesn't go beyond that stage either. What we're trying to find is the ones which are committed to go throughout that funnel. And, you know, I feel like we're making good early progress, and indicators are good.
But in terms of the business development of that, people are coming to you. Are 60% of them chancers, 50% of them chancers, 10%? Because, you know, in every business...
Yeah, there's definitely, like in every business, we're no different. You meet window shoppers, you know, because people didn't really know about EdgeMode last year. You know, we've done a lot quite quickly. So I think there's a degree of curiosity, and, you know, that means there's some high level, let's call it high level discovery calls that happen. There's also intermediaries. There's always people trying to broker and introduce.
Take a commission each side.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. And there's value in that sometimes as well. So I'm not against that at all. And then, you know, there's realities. Okay, so I was having this will shock you. I was having a beer with a friend of mine recently who's EVP of executive vice president of a really large, well-known business in this space, more in the hardware space. I can't say the name, but, you know, they're very, very well known. He said to me, of the MOUs, which is kind of like LOIs and non-binding offers in our world, that they issue, which are worth billions and billions of dollars every year, he has a single figure conversion rate from MOU to deal.
Wow.
But that's reality. And
so that funnel's going from there down to there, right?
Yeah, and like everyone, and that's not a surprise. You know, that's just a reality situation. So the point is, you need more at the top of the funnel to get more at the bottom, but you shouldn't expect it all to, you know, naturally go one for one closing. It'd be wonderful it did. I think we're going to be better in single figure conversion. You know, let's see how much better. But yeah, it's just the nature of not just what we do; it's what, you know, everybody does.
Understood. So in terms of common misconceptions, this space is literally covering the front of the newspaper, the middle of the newspaper, the back of the newspaper. Mr. Musk is talking about space. People are talking about underwater. People are saying the spends are, you know, part of the GDP of the, you know, the US, and that list goes on. We could talk about that. Is this going to continue forever?
I think we've got forever. Well, I think it's going to go on for a while. I don't think we're talking.
Let's talk about exuberance lasting forever.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more investment and demand that hasn't reached the market yet, because, you know, I think relatively speaking, we're still quite early stage, you know, in AI especially. So there's going to be more interest and more demand. I think a misconception might be that everything happens immediately.
Right.
You know, it's just not. You know, things will take. There'll be time that one needs to develop and then sell these sites. There'll be, you know, funding time that needs to, not necessarily for us as well, for our off-takers, it needs to be factored in. So I think just a misconception might be that in 2.5 months, like I said before, a business which signed a definitive agreement and began work on projects would then have sold all of them.
Right.
You know, it's just not going to happen. But we're making great progress. And that's from an EdgeMode perspective. A broader answer might be, yes, this isn't going to just be over in a flash. I think we've got some real duration into this. I think another thing to consider is there will be some interesting developments, whether it's looking for power from places like space, like you said, Elon Musk. So we're still working it out. You know, we're still figuring it out a little bit. I think one of the things which we were told and we were expecting was more friction. So a misconception is, from a regulatory perspective, that a lot of municipalities, local governments, and even state level, national governments are going to be oppositional to these data center builds and investing into AI infrastructure for environmental reasons or other. We haven't seen that. Actually, we've seen the opposite. So, give an example. We got a phone call last week, from the mayor of the municipality that we've got one of our probably our flagship development in Spain, a place called Malpica, which is near Madrid, about 50 kilometers from Madrid. So when you get a call from a municipality, you think, is this going to be a good call or a bad call? And it was a good call. Truly supportive, loads of praise and energy into the opportunity to help us and develop the project quicker. And they really see it as an opportunity. It's quite progressive thinking. So a misconception, back to your original question, might be that there's a lot of friction and opposition to what, not just what we're doing, what the industry's doing and where it's growing. I haven't found that. I found in Spain, and specifically in the sites that we're developing, it to be the opposite. Really affirmative, collaborative and positive.
Well, that's good. So to wrap up, anything going on in March, would you say, in terms of existing shareholders? Anything to look forward to very short term?
Yeah. I mean, look,
I guess they're knocking on the door all the time, but
lots going on, and I can allude to a few things. It's hard to sort of specify, but I'll tell you some interesting things. So, Jose, my colleague, he's in Panama today. He's been there for a couple of days actually. We're working on a really big project in Panama that we're making great progress on, and that's going to involve some interesting announcements and collaborations with local government there. So Spain is our focus, but we've also got a big project in Panama that we're developing, and we're putting a lot of energy and effort into doing that now. We've made great progress this week especially. Lots of really, really positive outcomes. So at some point, maybe in March, we'll be communicating that a bit more formally to shareholders and to the wider audience. So that's exciting. I mean, look, I'm doing a lot. I'm in Madrid, San Jose, in California, probably at the end of this month, because we've got some exciting business development opportunities that exist in that part of the world. So I'm meeting some senior leadership there. So yeah, every week has some pretty significant meetings and progress. How we then wrap that up into like a shareholder announcement, it's probably going to be more of a quarterly update. So yeah, end of March, naturally, we'll do a little bit of a reflection, and we'll point to what the next quarter is going to look like. And I think we're going to have a lot to say.
Okay. And just as a side note, these geopolitical tensions, does that slow things down?
We're not reliant on any supply chains that have been affected with that situation. So, no. I think we'll take a look at cost of gas. I think that's probably going to increase globally. So, yeah, that might be something we have to then factor in and model into our financial models and our forecasting. It's not a unique problem or challenge to us, so it's an accepted reality. So yeah, we'll see. But no, I mean, I feel, it certainly hasn't changed the nature of how we work day to day, week to week, and what we're looking to achieve. We haven't reset any dates or expectations on the business. It's business as usual.
Understood. Charlie, thank you for your time.
Nick, thank you.